Lee Bremner is the captain of the crew. For the sake of Leeds United, he would break himself into. Welcome back. The Rowan Peacock LUFC podcast. It's the half-season review. And we'll also look at Tottenham Hotspur 4, Leeds United 3. A brilliant game that made me angry for about 4 days. I've just started to feel a little bit better. Hello, my name's Adonis, and you know me as at the Lights on Twitter. It's a very good hello from me, joining us to discuss this half season of ups and downs is the Prince of Darkness himself, Machievelli, at Ewan Metcalf. Big Mac.
Good evening, folks. How are you, Adonis?
Yeah, I'm okay. I've calmed down now, as I said.
Settled down a bit, yeah. I just wonder, are we doing a mid-season review in November? Is it something to do with a weird World Cup?
Yeah.
Qatar. How many games have we played now? Oh, yeah, that plays.
Qatar. We've played 14 games, so we're 36% of the way through the season.
Oh, it's not too bad then, is it? That's near enough for me. Never been good at maths. Fuck it.
We're 1 point. We've got 1 point less than at this point last season. Do you know last season went quite well? We were 5 points off relegation this time last season. This season we're 2 points off it. 3 points off 19th.
Right. It's quite optimistic before you started speaking, mate.
We conceded quite a few goals last year, didn't we? Last season.
Yeah. I think we've
conceded more.
Goal difference.
More, yeah. We've conceded more.
I saw that stat and I looked. I didn't. There was no goal difference on it, was there? I thought, oh yeah, we've got a game in hand though over the teams above us, and we must have conceded less goals. Conceded more goals.
Yeah,
wow.
We scored more. That's it. Yeah, scored more.
Games are tighter, no? Games must be tighter. Sure.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, but it's just. I think we've played less good teams. I feel like all or most of the bad teams from last season, I think I think Fulham have come up and done really well. Forest have come up, they've invested massive amounts. Bournemouth have come up and they've done better than they should have. They've exceeded their, XG by some distance.
They'll be sixth, won't they, once Bielsa comes? That will break my heart, by the way.
I don't think it's going to happen because he's scheduled all these speaking appearances. So I think in February, for example, he's meant to speak in Norway. If I know Bielsa, he won't cancel that. He won't cancel any speaking appearances. He won't want to let people down.
Do you know what it is? I agree. I think if you asked me to put the house on, does he got on the phone? I'd say probably not, but he'd love Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Just talking about football project, I'm talking about the place. He says, I like Bournemouth a lot, you know what I mean? It's brilliant. Loads of good restaurants, really independent, student city, beachfront, loads of great walks, amazing coastline.
Yeah, and when you think where they were when they were in 1990, they've really rebuilt the place.
Yeah, it's a lot better than I remember it, to be fair. But we would have hung about in probably the dens of iniquity back in 1990. But yeah, I really like Bournemouth as a place. I just think the kind of guy Bielsa is, with his walks and his fish and chips and his coffees and his cups of tea and his, he'd love it in Bournemouth.
Lots of nanas to look after him. Lots of sweet shops.
I'd love it. There'd be loads of gilfs for him to admire.
Right. Not so many kids to give sweets to, though.
Yeah,
he could give sweets to the pensioners, though. They could suck on some jelly drops or whatever.
Werther's Originals.
Jelly tots. You know where they were invented?
Austria.
Leeds.
Oh,
something I found out.
Oh yeah, we've had this conversation before. Was it? Yeah, we've had this conversation.
We were asked outside of the Corn Exchange. A few of your comments. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Nora. Bandy says Leeds United will win the World Championships 2022. Okay. Good point, Bandy, says Nora. It's our Adonis and Ewan, says Gail. Good evening, our Gail. I was just about to get my calculator out, said Nora. Yeah, no need for that. You'll never have a calculator in your pocket. You won't carry that around, said my maths teacher 25 years ago. Gail, our goal difference is better glass half full or glass half empty. I prefer 3 points.
Last with 3 points in it, it'd been miles better.
Early Christmas jumper, says Nora. Yes, this is the Christmas jumper.
It's a bit early to be wearing that now, isn't it? It's in November, mate. It's not even... Well, it's about halfway through November. What are you doing? Just getting in the spirit of things.
Yeah, I'm getting in early. I just think, why enjoy Christmas for one day or 1 month whenever you put your tree up? Let's, extend it out a bit.
Enjoy the build-up. The build-up's great, yeah.
Yeah, anticipation. After the pain always comes afterwards, the hangover, all the shitty presents that you didn't want, the bills coming off, spent too much, got no money.
It's 10 days with your children.
Yeah. Electric bills will be fun as well this year.
Sure, yeah. I don't think we're having lights on our tree this year. We're going natural. We're just going to have a tree.
Just going to burn it. There you go. There's your lights, kids.
And when we get bored of it, we're going to chop it up and put it on the fire to heat ourselves.
We actually do that because we've got a wooden fire. Anyway, cheers.
We have
everybody.
12 years of Tory. Congratulations, well done. If only I could fuck the country up and then go spend 3 weeks in a jungle and get paid £500,000. Fucking hell, it'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Yeah, or go on a permanent holiday like Boris.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Amazing. What a life I have. In the wrong job. I always said politics was for mugs, but you know what? I think I got it the wrong way around. What a brilliant job.
To be fair to him,
get speaking gigs, go on holiday all the time, get asked to go on I'm a Celebrity, get your PR team to make you look as media you up so you look as absolutely innocent and nice as possible on a family sort of entertainment show, and get everybody feeling sorry for you. And people now starting to say, "Oh, he's actually quite nice." Yeah, come on, mate. He's been trained to fucking do exactly what he's doing at the moment. Yeah, it's what a life, a life of Riley.
Yeah. Yeah, but my relatives died, but it's okay because he ate some kangaroo penis. So, yeah. Brilliant. Liam, hi lads. Gail, I'm very well.
Liam.
Gail is very well, yeah. Hi Liam. Gary Keith, yay, got you likely lads live again. Hi from New Zealand. Good evening, Gary.
Good day. Cheer, Gary.
Sounds a bit Australian there.
Does it? Oh, I don't know. They all sound the same then. Whatever they are.
Oh, Gary, he doesn't mean Islanders. It. He is the Prince of Darkness. Remember that.
Yeah.
Hey, Gary, says Nora. Oh, lovely. Nora's sister lives in New Zealand. There you go. Let's join the dots. Gutted we didn't deserve to lose to Spurs, cheating sons of guns. Yeah. There we go. Spurs 4, Leeds 3. You want to start this joyous review off, Matt?
Fucking really? Not really, no. No, listen, I thought if we're going to be positive, I didn't think we'd lose the game. I thought Rodrigo was great. I thought in parts we played really, really well. I think that's the upside. System looked a little bit better. Somerville obviously scored 4 in 4. Rodrigo similar. Is that similar sort of stats for Rodrigo? Which is brilliant. That's what we want in it, and it gives us that attacking threat which we need. But the bad side of it was just the defence. I mean, all day we looked quite open, and just to sort of when they went 3-2 up, I thought I think we'll get something here. I thought
this was me. Incidentally, sorry, this was me at 3-2.
Picture overjoyed.
Yeah,
it's great.
Poor bastard. Look at him. His heart's about to be broken. We had for everybody listening on the podcast, we had the projector on, and I was celebrating 3-2, and then Nora took a photo of me. Oh dear.
All the goals were great. The finishes were brilliant. Some of the football was great, but the defence is so worrying. It's so open and so disjointed and lacking in sort of fight and perseverance and a bit of determination and resilience. It's just, yeah, it's pretty appalling to watch. And to come out of that with no points is, well, stunning, really, because and I guess that the elephant in the room and the thing that really pissed me off was I felt that the change, just as you kind of think he's getting substitutions right and he's starting to game in a positive way or to get a result, he comes out with, suddenly putting 5 at the back, which is, we've not really done that often, have we, or at all before, and kind of handed the impetus and the to them. And I just felt if we'd have maybe brought Joffrey on and gone and stayed in a similar sort of formation, or even been more attacking, we'd have really, put the pressure on them. And in front of the home crowd, there was a few sort of groans when we kept going, kept taking the lead, weren't there? Who knows what might have happened, but we will never know, because as again we finished on the wrong end of a result which you couldn't really have predicted when we went 3-2 up, I don't think. And just to capitulate like that within 3 or 4 minutes to concede 2 goals, I mean, wow. Talk about throwing a game away. Out with a fizzle and a whimper. God, it was a bit depressing, wasn't it? No wonder I was over it relatively quickly, because it's just becoming a little bit of a habit in it. It's sort of throwing games away with a whimper. So yeah, really disappointing. If we'd got something going into the break with that, we'd have been in 12. We've got a win. Sorry, we'd have got to. Even if we've got a point out of it, it'd been better than getting beat 4-3, obviously.
So we did go 5 at the back late in the games against Liverpool and Bournemouth, and I thought we consolidated the leads quite well in those games. But the thing is that they weren't playing like Spurs were playing, and I'll show you why for. Show you for why.
Show you for why.
Yeah. To bring that old nugget back. So here is the momentum graph, and sorry to anyone listening, but you're not going to be able to see this. But basically, on around the 60-minute mark, where Tottenham scored to make it 2-2, and then they made their changes, we dominated this period here. And if you remember for the game, it was the best period of time all season, I felt, where we've controlled possession in the final third. We've kept the ball. We haven't just tried to make killer passes, direct passes all the time. We've played it around. We've mounted pressure on in their half of the pitch, and we've controlled the game from there. And that's what was so disheartening about the substitution, is because I thought JB would have been good. I thought somebody like Dan James could have been good. We needed a bit more energy in the press. We were getting tired. But when we were pressing their defenders and midfielders, they were forced to play backwards. They were forced to play back, and it would often go to Lloris or one of their centre-backs, and then they'd lump it forward, and we collect the ball. None of their long balls were sticking, and in that way, we would be winning back possession, and that's what Marsh wants to do, and it was actually working. And I was like, we really need to get something out of this now, because we can. And then we scored, and I just thought, brilliant, because he deserves that. He deserved that for the way that they played. We haven't been able to play like that against poor teams, but Spurs were trying to play through us, and it was just never going to work. And when they tried to do a long ball, we were just collecting it. And I thought Cooper was really good, ironically. I've just written best and worst of Leeds and Cooper. He was involved in the first goal. There was a header, I think, or an interception, or second goal, header, that's right. And then it was headed on again to Rasmus, and Rodrigo reacted very, very well, as he did at Liverpool. I think he's been very opportunistic. He'd been sniffing out goals, which is really a good sign. And then for the third goal, Cooper was the one who intercepted the ball. He nipped in front and intercepted the ball, and I think he did well. But the problem is that he was at fault for the second, third, and fourth Spurs goals. He was variously at fault one way or the other. I think that header was poor. Yeah. I think he wasn't strong enough in the tackle. Kulusevski got by him a couple of times far too easily. Yeah. Best and worst.
I think we've said it before. We've said it before about Cooper, though. He reads the game quite well, and he will commit himself to stuff. And sometimes he gets caught out because of it. And when it works, it looks great, and when it doesn't, it looks awful. And in some ways, you feel a bit sorry for him. But yeah, I mean, to have you, I think I've said it before. I think I saw an article this week about moving people on, and I won't be at all against losing some of the players that I looked up to in that Championship campaign and that first year back in the Premier League. Absolutely loved them to bits and enjoyed the camaraderie and everything that they brought. But you have to be ruthless in this game, and suddenly there's a point where the game starts passing them by a little bit, and I think that can be said of not just Cooper but others. Yeah, really disappointing. I mean, I think the fourth goal, it was just, I think you said it this week, that he was kind of jogging back as they completely opened us up at the back, and he should be the man who's breaking things up and the sort of the enforcer at the back, and he was completely out of position and caught out and not quick enough to recover. And, it's costing us, isn't it? And it's such a disappointment because, like I say, I mean, what you do when you're in this position as a Leeds fan is you start looking up the table when you're 3-2. I'm thinking, great, finish on the break at 12 with a game in hand. I'd feel like we're probably at par or just above par this year, considering some of the games we've played and some of the results we've had. And then it's taken away from you in 3 minutes. I mean, it's that lack of, when you watch them against Liverpool and even Bournemouth to a lesser degree, they sort of fought to try and get the result, and it just looked like they kind of fizzled out. And I hate it when he takes Rocker off, because I think Rocker does control that centre of the pitch and that pace really well. And if he's not fit enough, get him fit, particularly now while you've got a chance. And if he can't play 90 minutes, we need him on that pitch. I would say for the duration of the game, like Adams, they want those. How many people take off in a game, substitute their two centre-halves if they're not injured, their two centre midfielders if they're not injured? We do it every week.
I'm glad you mentioned Rocker. Here is progressive passing in the Premier League for midfielders this season. More than 6 full 90 minutes. Progressive passing often, and they do it well. So there's Rocker. For people listening on the pod, he is very far to the right-hand side. And Adams is in the green as well, exactly where you want him. And just for reference, here's McTominay.
He's in a different stratosphere.
And you've got the worst of the worst over here. Ndidi, Tavernier, Coutinho, all these players are underperforming vastly. But Rocker and Adams doing very well, I think. They must come under the good top marks for the first half of the season. Good signings. I think they've done well. The only thing I'd say about...
I want to see him on that pitch for 90 minutes or 95 minutes, whatever. I want to see Rocker. I don't want to see... He gets taken off. I think at nearly every game I've watched, he's been taken off.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sacrifice him for playing 5 at the back. I don't care if it works against Liverpool. Like you say, Liverpool were kind of firing blanks by then, weren't they, anyway? Bournemouth were a bit shot, and Tottenham still looked like they had life in them, and I thought we had to probably Bielsa mentality, fight fire with fire in that instance. But it's easy for me to say. I'm not, again, coach, and Marshall's got it right quite a lot of times this year, but I thought that was a bad move.
Yep, same. The only thing I'd say about Adams and Rocker is that they're not marking their men on the edge of the box. They panic and go in a line with the defenders too much. And many, many times this season, men have been, opposition players have been standing on the edge of our box completely free. Of course, you're going to concede goals like that. Right, some of your comments then. This is the... these are the opinions of the chat. So this is the the quandary of putting yourself out there. Adonis, the expert analyst. Now go and show Marsh. Thank you, Bandy. And then the very next comment, hindsight is a wonderful thing, Adonis and you, and says Gail. I feel like maybe you're both right. I don't know. Centre-back's still not good enough. Cooper was diving in too often, says Liam B. No effort to get back by Coops for the goal, says Gail. Yep. Jogging back, very half-hearted. If you've watched Match of the Day, they point that out as well. Koch and Strauch should be our centre-backs moving on, says Liam. You know what I thought? I had a thought this week. We've got the third youngest team in the Premier League, and we've looked naive and inexperienced, especially with game management. I think, if you look at what Newcastle did, they bought, what was it, Dan Burns and the other fella. Anyway, I just think some real, and you've talked about it this season as well, some real, horrible bastard. And I think somebody very experienced, and you look at what Everton did, they brought in Tarkovsky and Cody. I feel like that's the kind of players that we need. And when I think about, I go back to what I was saying a few weeks ago. When you look at Radaby and how Radaby came in, and Radaby and Nigel Martin, but how they came in and changed that team and gave it some proper backbone. The similar thing happened with Liverpool. They had Mignolet and they were looking very shaky at the back, and then they brought in Alisson and Van Dijk in one window, and all of a sudden they're Champions League winners. I do kind of feel like that, and if you look at some of the stats, Meslier is a fantastic young goalkeeper. He's fantastic for his age, but he's not, I know he's the golden goose and he's saved us so many times, but he's not reliable all the time, and he does make blunders, and he does let in goals that he should save, and he is positionally poor at times, and he does punch things instead of catch them at times. And I feel like sometimes you need a bit of a more organised, Kasper Schmeichel, or you need somebody at the back there who kind of gets them organised and knows a bit of football and can shout, who's got that experience and can shout at them, get them into position. And it would be okay if Cooper was doing that, but Cooper's, as we've mentioned, is very hot and cold as well. Do we need a centre-back, Ewan?
100%. I think we've needed a centre-back for quite a while. I mean, people talk about club captains, and, he was obviously a big favourite for Bielsa. I think we needed a centre-back for a while. I mean, I've had sort of love-hate relationship with Llorente, where there's games where I've thought he's been brilliant, certainly early on, and certainly when he came back from injury that first season, he looked head and shoulders above anybody else we had, to be quite frank. But he seems to have lost that. Hock, I'm still not convinced with Hock. You know what I mean? It's like there's times where I think he looks brilliant, and other times where I'm not at all convinced. And I just think if you've got Koch in there, Strike, I think possibly might be our best consistent defender. I don't want him playing at left back. I never have, never will. I think we need somebody to come in and move Llorente on. I hate to say it, but maybe it's time for Cooper to move on at the end of the season, and we need to bring somebody in who's going to, bring that consistent performance and that consistent leadership on the pitch.
Strauch, he's looking very good. He's had a haircut. Right. The first Spurs goal, definite foul. But, Max frozen. And now he's gone. Now it's just us. I'm sure he'll be back.
He's a very handsome man. I tell you what, if your technology, I'm just going to sit here giggling if your technology's playing.
It's you froze and then you left me and I was on my own.
Oh, no, you left me and I was on my own. Wow, it's the gremlins are at work.
So, right, first Spurs goal. It was clearly a foul, obviously. What I think Meslier needed to do there was roll around on the floor and feign a bit of an injury. I think that would have done his good. I think they would have had to have looked at it a bit more. I think the consequences of Meslier being injured, I think that would have pushed it over the line to say VAR, have a look at it.
But before, that's naivety. It's a naivety.
Yeah. But that doesn't, that doesn't absolve VAR, obviously. But what I would say is that even if that hadn't have been a foul, look who was marking Harry Kane.
No.
Tyler Adams, our shortest player, apart from Willie Nonto. I mean, but that would have been ridiculous, wouldn't it? Little Willie marking Harry Kane. But no, it's Tyler.
Do you think that's strategic though? Because he's a bit of a pest in a bit of a shithouse, and he sort of gets stuck into people. He won't let him have any room. But Harry Kane's a world-class footballer, isn't he? You don't want, but who else is going to mark him? Cooper's not being on form. Yeah, Cooper but he's prone to pulling a shirt. He's prone to giving away silly, free kicks and penalties, isn't he, with people who are a bit better than him. So I don't know. Yeah, he was definitely
at least somebody tall.
Yeah, just poor lad.
Anyone with some height.
What if he got on Stroike's shoulders? Would that count?
No, I'm not convinced.
Stroike, he's a handsome bastard, isn't he? He's a good-looking man, isn't he?
I tell you what, he is. I'm not for turning, but...
Me neither, but, you can window shop, can't you?
And speaking of Tyler Adams, final point on him, I just wanted to say, I'm not even sure he touched either of the Spurs players that he got yellow cards for. I do think that...
savviness, it's that gamesmanship, and we're not doing it. Like you say, the first goal, we haven't even touched on it, I think, because we're that embarrassed that it's that much of a controversial point. How is that allowed to... did VAR look at it?
They have to. They look at all goals, don't they? They have to.
How's it allowed to continue? I mean, how's that allowed to go? I don't get it. And then, like you say, if Meslier goes down, feigns injury, looks like he's hurt, maybe they get a different response. Like you said, both players who got Adams booked made the most of it, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite... You can forgive referees for missing the odd foul because there is a lot of diving and we want to stop diving. But when what's his name, Longley falls on top of Meslier, it's quite difficult to achieve that if you're Meslier trying to make the most of it. You know what I mean? Like, Longley falls on top of you, it's probably not a dive.
It's awful. I mean, how can you look at that? I mean, VAR's done nothing for the game, has it? It's ruled out goals where somebody's toenails offside, and it's allowed stuff like that. I mean, it's appalling. I mean, surely it's like it's an entertainment business, isn't it? You want to see goals. You don't want to see goals get ruled out for minor moot points. I know you can't be that divisive about it, but that's just a straight foul. I mean, both of them. It was almost like you pushed me into him, and then it looks like we both challenged for the ball. It was like appalling decision, and again probably turned the game a little bit. I don't know. We could have been 2-0 up by then. We were still playing really well. They get back in the game, and I think they showed a lot of fight and determination. To be fair, Leeds, and we're really unlucky. But I mean, it's a bit like the Brentford game. You can't vouch for that, can you? That kind of poor decision making is just awful.
Yeah. Their second goal, it bounces off Rasmus, hits Meslier in the back, and then goes in. I think you can consider that unlucky, but again, the free man on the edge of the box.
Exactly, but the first block from Rasmus was brilliant. I heard people saying, "Oh, he was at fault." Man, he was off balance because he'd blocked the first one brilliantly. I thought Meslier should have done better. I thought he should have cleaned out Rasmus and everything in between to get to that ball, but people will accuse me of having a thing for Meslier because I constantly give him shit.
No, I think it's fair criticism. He does, very much like the rest of the Leeds team. He does some things brilliantly, and he has other moments which are, almost nightmarish. The problem with defenders is if they make a mistake, it can lead to a goal, and it doesn't. That's kind of what I was thinking with Cooper, because Cooper did a lot of good things in that game. He did it, but you don't remember all those good things that he does. I think we talked about this last podcast as well. You don't remember the little interceptions. You don't remember the blocks where, unless it's an extraordinary tackle like the one at Leicester that we still talk about, or Cox's tackle, which was fantastic.
I love them. Yeah. Love a tackle.
Yeah,
love a tackle. But do you know what it is as well? When you're sort of worried about being relegated or going down, you do focus on the negatives, don't you? Yeah. And we talked about a game of small margins and millimeters, and they are the ones that make a difference when you're down there, aren't they? And it's just not going our way, and we are being a bit unlucky. The thing with Leeds is you talked about, when you're a defender, mistakes lead to goals. Sometimes for Leeds, that open, your attacker makes a mistake or loses the ball, it can lead to goals, and that's that worry, isn't it? That's the openness, which is concerning.
Yeah, speaking of the sort of perilousness, this was my article this week for the BBC. And I summed that up, I hope, fairly well. It's not that losing away specifically to Tottenham Hotspur should elicit such extremes of emotion. It's that it feels like every game is significant. But for 2 goals last season, Leeds would have been relegated. That's the thing. It feels like, but for 2 goals, we would have gone down. And so it feels like every single, goal or goal against is not just, we're not just losing this game, or it's not just a game where we didn't expect to win anything anyway, get anything anyway, like Spurs away, and it's just a bad day. It turns into another 16 years of Luton away, of losing to Histon, of having terrible owners and protests and etc. Brings all that anxiety, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does bring a bit of anxiety. You just got to relax sometimes, aren't you? And like I said, let them get on with the job. They're behind them. It is difficult, I think, and the players will feel that pressure, particularly at home. Ultimately, out of the last 3 games, we've done really well, haven't we? And we talked about the Wolves game. Going into that Tottenham game, if we'd have won 3-2 or got a result, we'd have probably said we'll sacrifice Wolves. But then it compounds the Wolves debacle of changing everybody and still losing to Tottenham even more so. So without looking too far back, that's the problem, isn't it? You've got to build that. Once you say we don't expect to get anything at Tottenham. We didn't expect to get anything at Man City away last year, particularly going out of 10 men. We didn't expect to get anything at Liverpool. We did. Sometimes they're the games where you get the points that you need, like we did. The first season up, that last 10 games. We were absolutely tremendous. Drew with Liverpool, drew with Man United, got a win at Man City.
Third in the form table.
Exactly, and that's where you want to be in it. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You have to go out and set a precedent that it doesn't matter it's Man City, it doesn't matter it's Arsenal, it doesn't matter. We've actually done really well against those big sides, probably better than we've done against sides we'd expect to beat. So ultimately, you've got to take points where you can get them, and that builds momentum, and then you do go and beat the teams that you should beat. So yeah, it's a real tough one, but I can see why people are getting anxious. I mean, but
that was the peak of this squad, wasn't it? It's all been kind of downhill from there, but that was the zenith.
You have to spot that, though. I think you have to, as a manager, surely a person that works with them day in, day out and knows the quality that's in this league, you have to be able to people on and bring better in. I think that's part of the skill, and it's a tough gig. That it's not a lot of managers have failed with that, knowing when it's time to move people on and bring in the right replacements in. Yep.
Right. Gary Keith. The first yellow was dodgy, but not the second. Just my opinion. Watch it again, Gary. Watch it again, because Kulusevski jumps into the air and he's got two feet off the air and he's waiting for this very slight contact, and Tyler's pulling up trying to stop his run, and they just touch, and Kulusevski's got his studs back in the air and his knees bent, knees down there, and then falls over and rolls around, and that's why then he gets the yellow card. So I'd have a look at that again, mate. Shocking from once I've seen it again. In real time, it did look like a yellow. Adam says missing for the City game, yes. Says Derek, yes, he is.
Game that, yeah.
Gail Dale, don't get it, Ewan. What are the refs looking at?
Don't ask me. I think it's
The
them
back
you need to
pockets?
direct that question to. Well, I've just watched the fit. We'll probably come on to, but Qatar, FIFA uncovered. It's not unheard of.
Yeah. Of course, happened to Leeds very famously in a couple of European finals in the 70s. But of course, allegedly. Not that anybody's going to sue the Roaring Peacock podcast. Bandy says, the Prince of Darkness goes window shopping. Long live the pirate.
Probably the wrong choice of phrase, window shopping. You know what I mean? You can have a look, can't you? So you can admire, I'm not scared of that side of my sexuality. I can admire a good-looking fella.
Yeah. Gary Keith, get Wiggy's ears prick up in the comments. Get rid of VAR. Get TMO in like rugby with on-field commentary. Then officials can't hide. Now they tried on-field commentary, didn't they? Thank you, Gary Keith, for that comment. They tried on-field commentary in the 90s. I think it was David Ellery. I think it was Manchester United versus Arsenal. And didn't they not have to mute it because there was so much swearing? Sure, I remember something like that.
So, I mean, rugby league, for all its sins, is a much different game to football. The discipline and the kind of respect that players have for officials and for each other, more importantly, is just, it's on a different platform. To, there was the old, which you don't even see anymore, the old 10, they almost got rid of dissent from the 10-metre rule. So, if you argued with the ref, you got moved 10 metres back. Actually, funnily enough, in the wheelchair the other day, I saw that happen where they moved the penalty 10 metres further forward because there was dissent, and then they sent off one of the Welsh players. Priest got sent off in the wheelchair rugby, or got sin bin for 10 minutes, but it was 7 minutes left, and that's in wheelchair rugby. And all he did was chat back at the ref, and he got the right. Still kept going. Off you go. I mean, wouldn't that solve a lot of problems? And the language, I mean, listen, I'm the most sweary person I think I've ever met, but it's I don't know. It becomes like normal. I mean, I've watched kids games. My kids play. I don't just go watch kids games randomly. My children both play, and I watch under 12s, under 14 football. Some of the language, it makes you cringe that there's a 13, 14-year-old swearing at a spectator or swearing at the ref. I mean, fair enough in the man's game maybe, but that's learned behaviour. That, isn't it? That's them watching professionals and thinking it's okay to do it, and I think in rugby league it's not accepted.
Yeah, there's this, we talked about it over and over again now, this idea of the monkey in your brain, like getting control, and, that's the part of you that's going to swear the head off. And I think, I think it works both ways, though. I do think it works both ways. I think if you have, better refs, more quality refs, referees that, maybe can intellectually express themselves to as high a degree as I've seen from and heard from rugby officials, then maybe there will, maybe that there's a bit of that respect working both ways, because the officiating is in a terrible place at the moment, as we've said over and over again. I mean, handballs are a problem, offsides are a problem, diving is a massive problem, and that's before you get to dissent.
But I think unfortunately you've got to leave that at the door, Donny. I think you've got to say that officials will make mistakes. They're only human. Rugby league officials, for sure. I watched the Rhinos a lot, and they're not without fault. But there's an acceptance that the human players make mistakes. Officials will make mistakes. Their word is final. Let them referee the game. I think that the difference, football referees, I think that's the difference. Rugby referees, if you listen to the way they talk to the players, call them by their first name, let me ref the game, We'll have no more of that. You've had your warning. Any more of that, this is what the consequences are. It's like kids, isn't it? You're basically saying, if this happens, that's what's going to be the consequence. I've warned you. You've had your warning. I'm only going to warn you once. Off you go. Play the game. I think the way they talk to, there's a bit of an arrogance with football referees that doesn't come across. But I think if you're going to do this properly, you have to accept referees are going to make mistakes, and that once they've made a decision, you crack on with the game. And let football be football, rugby be rugby. The VAR has not benefited football in one bit, because you lose the joy of scoring a goal because now you're thinking, was it a goal? Oh, hang on a minute, there's a VAR check. Has it ruled out goals that should have stood? Yeah, and has it correctly given goals that yeah? But is it worth that sacrifice? 100% no.
Do you think that, the likes of David Beckham and that whole, there were players before that did it a bit, like George Best and a few others, but that the kind of era of celebrity footballer, which kind of, happened almost because of Beckham, because he married a Spice Girl, and then the papers hounded him, and then all of a sudden it was the Wags, and all of a sudden footballers, you had David Ginola and Cantona and all these different people. They sort of elevated it, didn't they? And now they're all millionaires. Do you think that's changed? Do you think that makes it more difficult now for referees to put them in their place? Because for me, if I was a referee, and I, as soon as they all surrounded me, I'd be giving them all yellow cards. I wouldn't be taking any of it.
I think it has made it more difficult, but that's only because there's a kind of false respect for the players now. Ultimately they're there for the. If it wasn't for spectators, there wouldn't be a game. And if arguing sense from the sport and the entertainment factor, then it's not benefiting anybody really. I absolutely agree. I think it's more difficult now. You're dealing with, precious multimillionaires. It's like if you worked in a school full of, millionaires' kids, it'd be hard work, wouldn't it, compared to just working in a normal comprehensive school. But that doesn't detract from the point that they're intelligent enough footballers now to know that if there was a consequence to their actions, i.e. you're arguing with the ref, you surround the ref. Like, I would argue that Arsenal got a couple of decisions against us because they all surround the ref and berate him and ask him to check things, which we don't do. When Bielsa was at Leeds, there was this absolute refusal to do it, wasn't there? That, you accept the game, you get on with the game. It was actually quite enlightening for me, because I've always been quite, on a pitch, you cross that white line and, you wear your heart on your sleeve, and you do fight for every little inch you can get, and use a bit of the dark arts. But it was actually a joy to watch somebody who was like, forget about all that, focus on what you're doing, play the game. I think we've got to get to a point where, unfortunately, I don't think we can reverse where we are, and I don't think we will. But it'd be nice to think that at some point there'd be this kind of respect for officials. It sounds mad because I've stood in the crowd as good as anybody giving them pelters when they get it wrong. But I'd much rather that than you think about Lampard's goal in whatever Euros it was that crossed the line, or World Cup it was that crossed the line and cost us a result. Would I swap for VAR getting that right now? No.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer player, by the way.
There you go. But that might be why I feel slightly different about that one. But I wouldn't swap the odd mistake and the balancing it out over us, because it's more frustrating because you've had 3 or 4 eyes on it. It's been slowed down. You kind of think they're going to look at that, and that's an obvious decision to make, and they come up with the opposite. I mean, it's bizarre. Yeah.
Right, we've had some almost like essay-like comments in the chat. We're really getting deep here. So thank you for that. Sorry I can't get through everybody's. Jesse keeps saying we have to find a way to stop the bleeding. But unless he tweaks Leeds' pressing style, the bleeding will continue as opponents target Leeds' flanks with long ball over the press, says Michael Brown. Yep. Right to Jesse, Michael. 14-14 Yorks. If we had beaten Wolves, we would have a competitive game before Man City to get ready after the break. Also, Adam's suspension would be used up. Another reason for us to win the cup game. common sense. Thank you, 1414 Yorks. I mean, I was absolutely livid.
Here.
I was apoplectic after that Carabao Cup game.
Slightly too much for me, but there you go.
But I've never really cared about honestly. I haven't cared about the Carabao Cup since 1996 when it was slightly more
Littlewoods or something.
It was the Coca-Cola Cup, and a drink it was an actual drink that people actually drink. Have you ever met anybody who's had a Carabao Cup, a cup of Carabao?
Yeah, we got a milk cup. Yeah, that was fine. Yeah, Coca-Cola. Yeah, okay. Carabao. The fuck's that? I thought it was an animal.
Right.
It was a beast.
Yeah, a Carabaoer. You don't want to get caught by one of those in the middle of a
Caribou Cup. Let's have the Caribou Cup. Brilliant, yeah.
A marsh. Mark Edison. Has any ref overruled VAR? Yes. But I only remember it happening once. And I think it was maybe Anthony Taylor or somebody like that. Yeah, it's only happened once. Bandy. Technically, players are not allowed to use foul and abusive language on the pitch. Weak officials. But that's what I mean, though. I mean, that's kind of what I was implying. It's like if I was a ref, they'd probably be all off after 10 minutes, because I would have given them all 2 yellow cards for swearing at me.
Match abandoned. Yeah. Match abandoned. There's only 3 players left on the pitch. Adonis sent everybody abusive language. Yeah.
No respect. They had no respect. They all had to go.
Do you know what though? There's a swearing,
bloody entitled millionaires.
Yeah, bloody spoiled bastards. You know what it is though. There's swearing and there's swearing. There's it's a bit like we work on a building site and we'll often say, "Oh, we don't mind a bit of language, but if it's aimed at somebody, it's offensive, then it's not on." And I think that's the difference in it. I think there was Traore got who's the lad who plays for Arsenal? I don't know if he's actually moved on now. And he fouled Traore, or Traore threw himself to the floor, and he went, "Come on, ref! He's built like a fucking brick shithouse." There's like a very famous, Traore throwing himself to the floor. And this guy sort of give it, I think that's fair enough. But when it's kind of around the ref swearing at him, or I don't think that's on really.
Yeah, I always think, when you see Adama Traore throw himself to the floor dramatically, I just think, oh, come on,
oiled
buddy.
Up, fuck, it looks like a stripper, doesn't it? It's like, come on, mate. Fucking slipping around on the floor. It's like you on your couch with the baby oil and sweat.
Don't be giving away the OnlyFans content. That's behind a paywall.
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, I forgot about that. I think that's when we do the Patreon, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. That's a joke for anyone too literal. Technically, players are not allowed to use foul and abusive language. We already talked about that. Good one. Well done, Donny. Derek Moore, the supposed top 6 have too much influence over there. It's top 7 now, Derek, by the way. Newcastle are in there. Richest club in the world. There is always going to be controversy and teams losing games over brutal decisions by bad refs. It's a very well constructed sentence. I like that. Brutal decisions by bad refs. I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Bandy, I was a ref. I knew there was something wrong with you, Bandy. Just kidding. And I would always give a free kick for foul and abusive language. Too right. I think this idea of 10 metre forwards is good as well. And if you're within 10 metres of their box, penalty.
Well, and I think Mark Edison said it's sin binning. If somebody's that abusive to an official or whatever, absolutely for me, I think that sin binning's changed a lot in rugby league. If you watch out what it was originally intended for, it has become kind of like it's a much more physical punishment now. It's where somebody commits a foul or whatever. Originally, it seemed to be more for that kind of dissent situation. So I'd absolutely do that, and players will either have to learn, or there's going to be consequences. So, and that's what we want, innit? We want a short-term sort of solution to a problem that allows us to just get on with watching good football matches and not, people surrounding the ref. And there's always teams as well, and it's particularly the teams that always get decisions. So Man United were brilliant at it. Arsenal do it now. Where they surround the ref and sort of ask for cards and all that nonsense. And Man United used to get decisions based on that all the time back when they were any good. And yeah, it's annoying as fuck.
Yeah, it's especially ridiculous when they've already made the decision, and I think they're probably not going to change it once they've made it. And isn't that the point of VAR? That if they have made a mistake, and that I just think, yeah, it should, but then you shouldn't have players surrounding the referee. But it's an emotional game; they're not robots as well, and that's where it comes back to me saying, I think the quality of refereeing needs to get better.
100%. 100%.
I can't remember who said it, whether it was on Square Ball or you know what? It was on the BBC's podcast, the new one, Don't Go to Bed Just Yet, with Adam Pope.
Oh, yeah.
Very good, by the way.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, Pope, friend of the podcast.
Show, Pope.
Yeah. And Simon from the Kaiser Chief was saying that the referee, the guy in the VAR, was the only person in the universe who thought that wasn't a foul on Meslier. And I just think the decision making needs to get a lot better, and I think that will solve probably most of the problems. And then you have a bit of a thicker line for offsides, for example. At the moment, it's ridiculous. From what we've seen of the AI in the Champions League that might be brought in next year into the Premier League, that's even worse, because the AI can literally go down to the millimeter. What I've seen of it is just horrendous, absolutely horrendous. 14-14, Yorks was still on VAR. Last year, Watford equalised at Ellen Road. The ref disallowed it for a foul on Cooper. He did not go to VAR, which showed that the goal should have stood, as Cooper actually fouled their player. We won 1-0 plus 3 points. Possibly Yorks, but I think
that's fine that way around.
We're on the wrong side of it most of the time. Nora didn't know that Carabao was a drink.
Come on, Nora. What did you think it was?
Yeah, what did you think it was, Nora? Let us know in the comments. And Alex Hainsworth, it's an energy drink. But have you ever seen it?
That's my nephew, That's my nephew, Alex.
Is it?
All right, Alex. Yeah, it is, yeah.
Go on, Alex.
It's my little nephew. He's not so little now. He's a big man, but, there's always been my little baby, won't you, Alex?
Alex is all embarrassed now. He didn't write that in the comments. I'm just speaking for him. Some people say that they can stick the League Cup up their arse, says Bandy. I would like us to stick it in our cabinet. Too right, Bandy.
Fair point.
But let's not get too deep into that now. Right. I feel like we've gone through the good, we've gone through the bad. We've 52 minutes in. Christ.
Jesus, really?
World Cup, you want to talk about that? That's starting soon. Sunday. Going well, isn't it? Good decision, wasn't it?
Yes, that sounds brilliant. I particularly laughed when was it the Danish TV crew were interrupted filming and threatened to have the cameras smashed by Qatari.
I loved his response. Go on then, smash it. Yeah, you want to do that? Okay, go on.
Smash it, yeah. It looked like some sort of Qatari secret police like situation, like in Libya when Colonel Gaddafi was at his pomp and joke, man. I mean, the things that I would point out for the World Cup. Listen, we'll move on to the football in a minute, but infrastructure-wise, I mean, I saw the stadium on our programme, so they look absolutely tremendous. The stadiums look magnificent. They've been, but you've got to then remember that there's
done a good work, good work cleaning the blood off. Fantastic.
Yeah, 6,500 people or whatever it is that are supposedly, probably more than that, actually have died in the process. The some of the accommodation for fans, wow, it's absolutely awful. I mean, those tents that just look like a gazebo in your back garden with like a couple of beds in there, and it's $100 a night, $250 a night, whatever. I mean, it just looks poor, doesn't it? It looks like it's ill thought out. It should never have been awarded to them in the first place. Obviously, that's corruption. We've watched that on the FIFA program.
FIFA Uncovered on Netflix. Fantastic.
Yeah, if you've not watched it, brilliant. Yeah,
4-part miniseries.
some of the guys that the interview on it, the journalists and the people that have been involved, were absolutely tremendous, and really blunt about the fact that it was just absolute corruption. There's no question about it. It wasn't, disputed. It was absolute. So I think that was a really great program. But if it sort of highlights the fact that I think it was England were in when England should have won the 2018. USA should have won this one. That was always the thing, and it looked like bought votes and corruption that turned it the other way. So there's no infrastructure there. There's no existing stadium that were capable of holding it. The accommodation looks poor. The infrastructure around the country doesn't look great. The attitude of the country, and it's kind of, I'm excited about watching a World Cup, particularly normally it's summer and the season's finished. This time of year it feels odd, but I get once the games start, it will be exciting and it'll be good to watch. No doubt, but there's all that stuff in the background, and God bless anybody who goes out there. I heard this week the worst thing of it all, forget about atrocities and sports washing, but the only beer on sale, sake. I mean, you poor bastards.
12 to 15 pounds a pint for the privilege.
Shit.
Yeah, for the privilege. Yep. No a specific law against violence to women.
You can't do that. That's not allowed. Really? Oh, fucking hell! Well done, you.
It's just unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, how can you not have a law against committing violence on women? And that I understand there is this whole argument about, it's Qatar's country, it's Qatar's culture, you've got to respect them. No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that because it's not the Qatari football tournament. It's not Qatar soccer tournament. It's the World Cup. And if you can't, if you can't protect half of the population of the world, you don't have a law against violence, then what are you going to do? I don't think you can have it. Obviously, it shouldn't have happened originally. They shouldn't have given it to. There were golden handshakes, there were backhanders, allegedly. Horrible track record against the LGBT community. Terrible hospitality, like you've said. But there's also the whole instability of the region. 5 years ago, there was a blockade of Qatar, and there was sort of the start of a Cold War again. And you just think, there's only that is such a tinderbox, that region, and full of kind of, little kings and tyrants of their own dynasties, and it wouldn't take much for it all to kick off. I think it could be one of the most extreme. It's probably the most controversial sporting tournament ever.
Heat as well. I mean, it's just not a country that's conducive to football, is it? And again, it's contrived, isn't it? They've had to sort of mash it up lastminute.com. I mean, some of the stadiums and accommodation up to months ago weren't finished. I mean, really bad. I love the fact, it's a bit like South Africa and taking it to the continent, the African continent, taking it to the Middle East. I think it's a brilliant idea, but surely there's places that are better positioned to do it, or you give people like a warning. You almost say, look, it's going to come to you in 2032. Or whatever year it's going to come, and get yourself organised, and we'll come back and be the judge of whether you're in a place to do it. Not this kind of, there you go, there's the money, there's the backhander, there's the profile and the sports washing that's going to come with it, and off you go. Go build 18 stadiums, overnight. No wonder there's been so many fatalities, because working in construction, it's still a very dangerous game. If you're doing it, paint by numbers overnight, it's going to go, sadly, it's going to go really wrong. And some of the conditions and the wages and, it's appalling, the whole thing around it. It's just, I mean, it's funny, and I don't even want to mention it on here because it's a Leeds United podcast, and he's a kid. I can't stand him when he's on a football pitch, but I caught the end of an interview with
Bruno Fernandes.
And Bruno Fernandes, who's, it was Eriksen and Fernandes getting interviewed together. And I found myself liking Fernandez. It was like, because he literally said, we shouldn't be going.
Yeah.
I'm not excited about it and I'm going to go and represent my country, but really, we shouldn't be going. And he mentioned the human rights and the kind of lack of, it's a World Cup and it's for everybody, but there's a country that doesn't welcome people from certain communities and so on and so on. And I thought, good on you, mate, because on Sky Live, he's literally laid it on the line. Um, so there is all that sort of moral stuff that plays in the background. I guess once the competition kicks off, it'll be judged football, the games, and the competition itself. Hopefully, there'll be no incidents that draw attention away from that. I mean, I've been watching almost in conjunction with that FIFA thing. Been watching the Italian 90. Not the one about the football hooliganism sort of burning in the background, the 80s, 90s sort of stuff. And
what's it
you
called?
kind of look at can't remember now. There's one that's on that's purely about when football changed forever or something, and then this one's it's sort of following the sort of football hooliganism bit and the introduction to Italian 90, and of course a lot of the trouble that went off at the at Italian 90, the fact that England played in Sardinia, so that we're on an island and couldn't sort of ruin most of Italy or be travelling through Italy. I can't remember what it's on now, mate. Might be on Channel 4. I'll have to have a look for you. I'll send it or put it in the.
We'll tweet it out and we'll tell you next week.
The Twitter, yeah. But you watch that and you think, obviously, England would bring in a bad reputation to football at that time, but you don't remember it like that. You sort of remember watching a brilliant tournament and England getting to the semis and. So hopefully it'll be the same where there's no incident that mars the kind of football spectacle that hopefully we're going to see. And like I said, some of the stadiums and the pitches and the kind of look phenomenal. But it'd be interesting to see the fallout from it and how it all what comes out of it. What spectators who have actually been to watch games or England fans who've been and stayed in. Not just England fans, any fans that go and stay in these accommodations, what they actually. When it all comes out, but it's kind of like looking forward to it and not at the same time. It feels really odd, doesn't it? Particularly this time of year.
Could go very, very wrong. I think it could go very badly wrong. It only takes one or two incidents, and again, if you look at that, the tent city, that looks like trouble waiting to happen. If ever I've seen it. And I just wanted to mention about the workers again. 80 to 90% of the workers, they have their passports taken off them. I think it's called the kafala system. I'm right into reading about it now. But a lot of them weren't even paid. You talk about a paycheck; they weren't even paid. They could only buy bread and water with the money that they brought with them. And others were getting $1 or $2 a day. No wonder a load of them died. And there were 2,000 who, there were a lot from Nepal, and 2,000 caskets have been sent back to Nepal. It's just incredible. Right, some of your comments. You and sort your mic out for fuck's sake, says Mark. But honestly, it sounds really good. It's only dropped out a couple of times.
Maybe it's your earphones, Mark, or your bloody computer, mate. You want to get that sorted out, pal? My mic's never. It's without question, my mic.
Honestly, it's gotten a lot better. It has gotten a lot better. It's only dropped out a couple of times, this pod. I think it's been, majority of the time, 99% of the time, it's been good. Bandy asked me what headphones I'm using. Well, Bandy, these are the ones I'd recommend. This is not a sponsorship. The DT770 Pro from Bayer Dynamic.
Can you send me those, please? The ones you're not using anymore. Cheers.
They're the ones I'd recommend. Okay. World Cup for the money, says Liam, and Kane is going to wear the rainbow armband. Yes, he is.
I like Harry Kane. Can't not like Harry Kane, can you really?
Yeah, well, I mean, unless he's
Leeds.
wearing a Spurs shirt. I'm playing.
It's what do you call it? It's called When Football Changed Forever.
Okay.
Italian 90, When Football Changed Forever, by the way.
There you go. So got to write that down, everybody.
I'll tell you a story about Harry Kane really quickly. So my eldest lad, is really loves Harry Kane, thinks he's brilliant. He's a striker as well. So, and I've got a friend called Pat Kane who I work with, who's he owns a business called Sirius, who do a lot of demolition and remediation on our sites. And I was once sat in the room and Pat Kane flashes up on my phone, and Luca goes, "Is he related to Harry?" Oh, he's his dad, yeah. Oh, is he? Yeah, it's Harry Kane's dad, yeah. We work with him. He works down at he comes to Kirksville Fort. You're joking. Can you get me a signed shirt? Can I get to meet him? Yeah, just give us a minute, son. And I'm talking to Pat. So my son being my son and not believing a word I say, which is fine. I absolutely get it. He goes away and checks it on the internet. Guess what Harry Kane's dad's called?
Is it Pat? Patrick. Is it? Oh, yeah. No.
It's like, I see this face change. Like, what? Really? That's
got him.
It's really his dad. He's all over me like a rash, like a cheap suit, and I'm like, yeah, it's his dad. Listen, chill out, mate. Listen, yeah, we'll get to meet him. Yeah, don't worry, it's fine. So I told him this story about Pat Kane. So anyway, about 3 weeks later, phone rings again. Kane, Lucas sees it. He's like, oh, it's Harry's dad. Harry's dad's on the phone. Dad, Harry's dad. Can you pick it up? Can you tell him I'm here? Tell him I love Harry. So I picks the phone. Anyway, by this time, I've seen Pat at work, and I've said to Pat, my son thinks you're Harry Kane's dad, right? So it just prelude to it. Rings and says, "Oh, don't forget, Luca. He thinks you're Harry Kane's dad." So Luca comes in the room, and I'm like, "Do you want to speak to him?" So Luca's like, "Speak to him." All right. Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, son, here.
You're so cruel. Naughty,
no
you.
Word of a lie. No word of a lie. He goes, "Hello?" And Pat went, "All right, Lucas, son, how's it going?" Bear in mind, this lad's from Leeds. "All right, Lucas, son, how's it going, mate? You okay? I'm great.
Come on, you Spurs.
You're straight like you as well, Luca. Like, no, go on, Luca, lad. Yeah, great. Lovely, mate. Lovely." And Lucas like, I didn't know what to say. This day, still don't know. It's been about a year.
Oh, dear.
His dad today at work, yeah, of course. I have me and Pat like that. Me and his dad, yeah, of course. Can you get me an England shirt? Yes, son.
The day he finds out is going to be a cruel lesson.
Right, mate. Ah, well, you know.
Rightio. Well, England start off versus Iran. Women. England start off versus Iran. Women cannot go to watch football in Iran, says 1414 Yorks. Yep. I wonder if I don't think they can go unaccompanied if in Qatar either. They certainly can't. They can't own property in Qatar. Women, and they can't travel overseas without the approval of a man. Permission. That's the word.
Same as my missus. I don't let her go overseas without my permission either, to be fair.
Oh dear. But that's not legislated, thank God. Mark's calling you an air traffic controller now.
Fuck us too long, mate. Don't be coming back here getting all large.
Did Pat Kane put 2 gobstoppers in his mouth to sound like Harry?
You see, my microphone's not that bad. It wasn't his Harry, it was his dad. His dad doesn't speak like that.
He's got better. Look, I've got a lot better. Right, the football. You want to see Samuel Eto'o's World Cup predictions? Of course you do.
Please.
So Group A, if you didn't know, Senegal, Qatar, Netherlands, Ecuador. Samuel Eto'o has gone for Senegal and Qatar. Personally, I think the Netherlands will win that group, but nice one, Sam. Okay. England and Iran to go through in Group B. I think the USA will nick second place. Your thoughts, Mac?
What? Samuel Eto'o's mental prediction?
Yes, it's Samuel Eto'o's mental predictions. That's why I'm saying it. That's why I'm bringing it up.
I think what he's done is gone. One team that will go through I've been paid to say that. One week I'll go through. I've been paid to say that. Let's get on to Group C.
Who's paying him in Poland? So Argentina and Poland going through Mexico and Saudi Arabia.
Oh, I'm surprised Saudi Arabia's not second. And they haven't been paid to say it.
Yeah, but you see, he's obviously been paid by Qatar, and he snubbed the Saudi Arabian bribes. Group D, France and Tunisia, with Denmark and Australia not qualifying. I don't know. I fancy Denmark second there. Group E, Germany, Spain, Japan, Costa Rica. That all looks fine. Group F, Morocco, Belgium, Croatia, Canada. Got a funny feeling that Croatia might get ahead of Morocco somehow. But that's just me. Group G, Cameron? Who's he? Cameroon, Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland. Looks okay. I think Brazil will go through top of the group though. Group H, Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, and South Korea.
See, I've got Uruguay in the sweep, but Uruguay are decent, aren't they?
I think Uruguay and Portugal.
It definitely looks like he's been bought by some African countries and some Middle Eastern countries, because there's a lot of leaning towards those areas.
Allegedly,
of course, yeah.
Now let's see his predictions for the knockout stage. Maybe I'll make this a little bit bigger.
Let me guess. Did Qatar get to the final?
Qatar beat England in the round of 16.
If they do, I'm stopping football. I'm done.
France beat Qatar in the quarterfinals. That's Morocco, isn't it? Morocco get all the way through to the final to play. Is that Ghana? I think that's Senegal and that's Ghana. Jeez, we're going right back to my geography days of map recognition here. So it would be and Ghana beat Morocco in the final, and Senegal beat France to finish third. That's Samuel Eto's. Agree with all that?
He's been smoking something. Allegedly. What the fuck? Predictions are pretty much from start to finish. He's gone left field. He's gone a bit rogue, hasn't he? But it wouldn't be my predictions, put it like that. But who am I? He's a world class legend of a footballer, so he's probably right.
Got to agree with that. Some more predictions here, or for some more information for anyone predicting. Exclusive. This is from a Saudi Arabian journalist, I believe, a source. Exclusive. Qatar bribed 8 Ecuadorian players $7.4 million to lose the opener 1-0 from a second half goal. 5 Qatari and Ecuadorian insiders confirm this. We hope it's false. We hope sharing this will affect the outcome. The world should oppose FIFA corruption.
Just a bit of death knell of it all, wouldn't it?
I just feel like, I don't know. We hope sharing this will affect the outcome. That kind of covers you, doesn't it? Just in case.
It will affect the outcome because they'll win 3-0 now. They'll go, yeah, we'll give you another 3 million just to let 3 in now because, we might get found out if it's 1-0.
It wouldn't surprise me if that were the case. I mean, with the Russia's opening game, I think it was against Saudi Arabia, the Russian players looked like they'd all had some sort of performance-enhancing substance, allegedly. But we know Russia's involvement with performance-enhancing drugs anyway.
Yeah, they never do.
And then the next 2 games, they looked like they were seriously on the come down.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Bit like a night out in Hacienda, and then the 2 days after, in footballing terms,
scrambled. Oh dear. So
world's cracking
it. Yeah. So Liam's prediction here: USA will go through. England won't get out of the group stage, says Bandy. Netherlands.
See what he's saying, to be honest.
Not going through. Lol says no.
I think there might be a bit of a dark horse, Netherlands. God bless you'll come back and remind me of this when they get knocked out in the group stage, and whoever it is, Qatar or whatever, Senegal go through. But
clip it.
Yeah, but yeah, the Netherlands could be a bit of an underdog, and you'll do okay. England not getting out of the group stage is a brave bet, but who knows? If you look at what Bruno Fernandes said, and you probably think there'll be a lot of savvy England players and people who are a bit more switched on to this kind of thing. Do they really want to be there? Don't know, and that might come across on the pitch. There'll be lots of players like that. I think there'll be a few teams that really underperform and stink the place out, probably because they're not that arsed about playing and performing in that country. So I think there will be a few shocks and surprises. Maybe Samuel Eto'o's got it right. Maybe the ones that will go thinking this is a World Cup and we need to do our best. I mean, Wales will be interesting because, England never do well against USA, never do well against Wales, or don't perform as they should against Wales. So you've got to hope they get something against Iran because, otherwise Brandy might be right.
They'll be right up for it as well, Iran, because of
Of course.
the revolution that's going on there. They will be right up for it. Motivation is a massive factor, and I agree. You see it in cups, don't you? You see it a lot in cups. With the Premier League sides getting knocked out by non-league teams because it's the game of their lives, and they'll never get another opportunity like that again. And that's probably what a lot of these teams are going to go into it thinking as well.
Yeah, Leeds
You might
Crawley,
be
you're
onto
on
something there. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, Histon.
Well, Leeds gets everybody. You're on
Yeah.
it, Sutton, Histon,
Yeah.
you name it. So yeah, it can happen. And I think if you
Post
go into
office.
the wrong mentality,
Yeah, Posty, wasn't it? Posty.
Post Office 11 against Leeds, 2-0 to them. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if you were onto something there. Yeah. Right, Bruce Edwards. The rugby players class the ref as part of the game where football players think of him more or less the enemy. Not bad. Yeah, can't be a hypocrite about exploited workers because all our jerseys and kits are made by dirt poor women and kids in sweatshops in Asia. Yeah, Bangladesh, isn't it? They pay the least amount. So, yep. But the difference would be is that that's in a foreign land somewhere where often foreign kit manufacturers have put their contracts out to tender, right? So then it's the kind of the jurisdiction of Bangladesh or whatever to ensure that workers' rights are upheld and enforced. And whereas in Qatar, these people have been worked to the death. I mean, they haven't been paid anything. They've barely been given bread and water from what I've seen. And these people are dying of heat exhaustion because it gets up to 50 degrees and they're forced to work essentially in the worst conditions possible.
No, some of that's on FIFA though, because before they've awarded it to a country with no experience of doing it. You actually look at what Qatar have done more recently in the last is they've tried to improve a lot of that, and the pay, the paying conditions, the working hours and conditions. But you're giving it to a country who've got literally no experience of hosting and the spotlight being on them for a World Cup, but also the fact that they're probably not. I mean, listen, they built numerous buildings. You can see when you look at the skyline across Doha or wherever. So they should know better. But in that time frame, it puts a pressure on them, and the spotlight of the world, is on them. So it's as much on FIFA, but FIFA won't care because they'll have been, Sepp Blatter and whoever else will have been pocketing, Chuck Blazer, Sepp Blatter, the guy from CONCACAF who was pocketing loads of money. Warner, they won't care. It's irresponsible to give a country like Qatar the World Cup. I mean, in a way, I hope they do a really good job and it comes out to be a really positive thing because sharing that hosting of it around the world is probably the right thing to do in the great scheme of things. But if it wasn't shrouded by the fact that they've been taking bungs and loads of money to do it, it might feel different. But it feels like the money's talked and the rest, kind of followed really.
Yeah, as Louis van Gaal said, if they're saying that the aim is to develop football in the Middle East, then that is bullshit.
Yeah,
was his exact quote, which made me feel. Yeah,
totally.
Good on him, I thought. Right, palate cleanser then. Some pickled ginger to finish it off. What's your thing this week? And I just want, I'll get in first, shall I? Amsterdam, great film. If you love something a bit quirky, if you like something a bit sort of not normal. I've seen it getting very, very mixed reviews, and I can understand why. But yeah, it's a little bit quirky. It's a bit different. It's a bit preachy in the end, but there's some fantastic acting. It's an unbelievable cast. So yeah, Amsterdam. That's my tip. And I can't remember if we said last week, but The Offer was brilliant. No, absolutely brilliant. And yeah, we've rewatched Godfather Part 1 and 2 now, so we're just on to Part 3. Yep. Yeah, very, 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 very good.
On Paramount, I think it's really good. The Offer, watch it. If you're a Godfather fan, watch it. It's amazing. Sad it's finished, really. It's kind of, I watched the last one the other day, and I'm quite sad. It's like, right, what am I going to do now? If we're going to go TV, because the weather's, the nights are drawing in and it's pretty miserable here in England, I think probably the thing I mentioned, when football changed forever, the Italia stuff's pretty good. It's only three parts. It's easy enough. I also think there's a film called All Quiet on the Western Front, which was based on a book. I think it was an original film done in black and white many moons ago, but it's kind of a war film from the German perspective. It's World War One. Watch it. That's all I can say. It's stunning. It's, graphically stunning, but it's heart wrenching at times. It's equally brutal and beautiful, and all those things that you want out of a film. But shot superbly, really good acting. Absolutely loved it, and I'm not massive war film kind of person. It reminds, not exactly like, but when you watch the first 15 minutes of Saving Private Ryan, where 21 minutes was just people getting blown to shit and kind of reflected what sort of grimness of run of war is, it was kind of similar to that, where it didn't glorify it. It absolutely made it as realistic as it possibly could. So yeah, All Quiet on the Western Front, I think it's on Netflix. Really good. Give it a watch. I think it's 2.5 hours, so it's pretty long, but you won't regret it. Stays with you.
Brutal, isn't it? Brutal.
Absolutely brutal. It stays with you after you've watched it. You're thinking about things and thinking, oh my God. Particularly at this time, it's quite pertinent with what's going on in Ukraine and what have you. It was a brilliant watch, and I absolutely loved it. The score's brilliant. The music's great. Really, really sort of atmospheric film to watch. So yeah, give it a watch. It's good.
Rightio. So final thoughts then. I guess we won't speak before England's opening World Cup game. And I just wanted to say, I think it was Nick Fox is the one guy who they've admitted basically the Qatar have admitted died building the stadium in which England play. So hopefully that the whoever commentates on that will mention that before the game, because I think it's only fair. The poor lad's died and is a compatriot. So England versus Iran. Your prediction and then final thoughts, Ewan.
Obviously, I don't know a lot about Iran. Well, not football-wise anyway, so I'm going to go first game England are never great, are they? I'll go 2-1 England.
Okay. And, SAS Rogue Heroes and The English on BBC iPlayer, both excellent 6-part series. I have to say, I mentioned it a couple of podcasts ago, SAS Rogue Heroes is absolutely fantastic. Guy Ritchie in the desert is how I would describe it. Very, very, very good.
Mate, on your recommendation, so it better be good.
From the writer of Peaky Blinders. Brilliant. That was another one we were sad when it finished, because they'd almost become like family, those characters. You love them so much. 1414 Yorks, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Two Doors Down, and older comedy 1990. Well, there you go. And Derek Moore, I'm Irish for my sins, so I've no interest in the World Cup. But I'll follow our boys from America and put on a few bets to keep me interested. Bet responsibly, Derek. And if you can't, don't bet at all. That's what I'd say. But it seems like 1-0 to Qatar might be a good one. I'm just kidding, obviously. Speaking of Ireland, that was the first World Cup that I remember, 1994.
So I was show my age.
Yeah, England didn't qualify, and so I supported Ireland and Brazil. There you go. Tune in next week.
Sorry, go on.
Tune in next week for more, stories from Adonis's childhood.
1978 was the first one I remember. I only remember Scotland. I remember Archie Gemmill, Dalglish, and sort of Scotland. And I remember the final, so the ticker-tape final, the Holland-Argentina final, which I mentioned before. And the first one I remember England being at or being in was 82, Spain, where, again, Northern Ireland were really good, played really well. Armstrong and what's his name? And then Kevin Keegan missed that header. Was it against Spain? He missed a sort of sitter, a kind of Kevin Keegan-esque header that he missed to not send us through. It was a slightly different format and a way of qualifying back then. And the one that obviously that I really remember, much more distinctly, was 86 Mexico, where the Maradona goal, where England were actually pretty good. So we had two World Cups that were pretty positive, really. Mexico 86 and Italian 90. The Italian 90 is still to this day is my favourite World Cup. It was, for everything about it, was superb, wasn't it? Music, Nessun Dorma, England were great. Gaza. Again, there's a few programs on at the minute about it. Just a brilliant World Cup, and held. Again, harking back to what we've said, held in a country that football is a lifeblood. And the stadium are already there, and makes a big difference, I think.
Yeah, passion and the culture. I think it all added to it, didn't it? And of course, Italy did well, which made it better, probably. When the nation does well. And my granddad had a VHS tape of Italia 90, so I watched that a lot. And of course, growing up in the 90s, Football Italia on Channel 4. Derek Moore, I remember 1990 and 94. Liam B, I was at the 1994 World Cup. Back then, the qualifying system was way better than now. Right. That's you lot.
Is it longer?
14 games down. 28. No.
Go on, Einstein. Fucking hell, Socrates. What's it?
24.
Well done.
24 to go. I can do maths. Come on. 24 to go, and we'll see you.
Calculator in your pocket, son. You're not always going to have a calculator in your pocket.
Right. Yeah. There you go. 24 to go, and we'll see you next week for the Roaring Bulldog. The return of the Roaring Bulldog. We got the graphic.
Oh wow, yeah. The Bulldog's back out. Exactly. Brilliant. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody. By the way. Nice.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And like and subscribe and tell your friends and all that stuff. And we'll see you next week. Come on, England!